Welcome to the Living in Hawaii channel. My name is Ryan Strong with the top relocation team to Hawaii. Today, we are going to be covering your ultimate guide to moving to Hawaii. And today, I've got the #1 presentation, hands down, period, that's going to give you the ultimate breakdown of moving to Hawaii. We are going to be covering these major things right here that are going to play a huge factor when it comes to where you decide to live when making that move to Hawaii. So we're going to cover the major roads and sections. One of the biggest questions we get or talk about on our calls is proximity to work. All right. We're going to be talking about best areas to live in Hawaii according to niche.com. Niche.com and greatschools.org are two sites that we highly recommend doing your homework and research with, and where we get the information from that we are going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about pros and cons, and we're going to break down some of the cost of living. Again, huge thing here for living in Hawaii, cost of living. Everybody knows it's just a little bit more expensive, more comparable to California. As I mentioned, we are the top relocating to Hawaii team out here. And so see that number right there on the screen, that email as well. You can text us, you can call us, you can send us an email, however you're comfortable. Anything that you want to do to get in touch with us, we got your back when it comes to moving to Hawaii. Now, starting out with the 8 major islands, all right, and you can see that we've got all of the 8 major islands up here, but more specifically today, we are going to be talking about Honolulu, Hawaii. Now, Honolulu, Hawaii being the 6th island in the chain going from east to west, all right, and then obviously the United States mainland coming this way. So we're going to be talking specifically about Honolulu, Hawaii. Let's go and zoom in and get a better idea. And we're going to do this island breakdown. We're going to go over all those things. So let's break down the freeway system so you have an understanding of the routes and those types of things. So again, traffic can be the absolute worst on H1. So where is H1 or Highway 1? Highway 1 runs from west to east. So we're looking at basically Kapolei is where it major starts. And then it comes all the way down and around by the airport, Joint Base Pearl Harbor, Hickam. And then it's going to take you all the way down out around here, okay, all the way out to Hawaii Kai before it changes. So that's going to be your H1. This is the absolute busiest highway in Honolulu, Hawaii, or on Oahu, okay? Traffic, when you hear about the traffic, this is mostly where it's at, all right? And that's peak work hours is what we're talking about. So we're usually going to start right around about that 5 a.m. You're going to have the early birds that I used to do, where I would leave my house at 4 a.m. if I knew that I had to travel from west to east, all right, to beat all of that traffic. I had no problem waking up that much earlier to make sure that I didn't get caught in any of this. So that is going to be H1. And then the 201 is this little branch right here that just kind of avoids the airport, and it goes around the other way. But nevertheless, now we have H2. Where does H2 start? H2 essentially starts between Waipahu and Pearl City. All right, and H2 is going to take you up through Waipio, and it's going to take you all the way up before it turns into the 99, and then you're going to head up to North Shore. All right, we're going to talk about that in just a second, but that is the H2. So we got the H1 down here, and then we've got the H2 right here in the middle. All right, now where's the H3? The one with the most beautiful views, all right, when you're coming out of the Harano Tunnel on the H3. So H3 branches off right here, okay? And right around the stadium, you're going to take that exit. And then you're going to come around, and then you're going to go left to the H3, or you can stay right, and then you can head to town, all right? So the H3 is going to come up here. You're going to go up into the mountains, all right? You're going to head through the tunnel like I was talking about. You're going to come out here, and you're going to start to see these amazing views of the bay over here, and then you just come all the way around, okay? Now this is going to be where Marine Corps Base Hawaii is, and Kailua, Kaneohe, and the whole Windward side. We're going to talk about those a little bit more. So that is H3, okay? That is how it shakes out when it comes to the highway system in Honolulu, Hawaii. Now, what can play a factor? Well, again, I circled Marine Corps Base Hawaii. If you're in the Marines, right, and you're thinking about where to live, this could play a factor, right? If you're in Schofield Barracks or something like that, this could play a factor as well. So understanding the highway system, all right, is going to be huge. And we're going to talk a little bit more about it when we start to get into some of these areas, where I'm going to break it down here in just a second, and the roads, because a lot of people may have to get to the airport all the time. All right, they may be making that commute east to west, or maybe coming from Windward to town, but we're going to talk about all that here in just a second. Now, you heard me talk a little bit about some of the areas, North Shore, Windward. So now let's actually look at where those kind of break down. Now, generally speaking, all right, your North Shore is going to be the north side of the island. So basically starting over here at Kaina Point, all right? And most of the time, some people, give a little room, wiggle room here and there. But I pretty much say starting at Honolulu, which is going to be right there. So we're going to have Honolulu right here, and then Kaina Point right here. So essentially, North Shore is going to be all of this, all right? Now, typically, when it comes to North Shore, the first one that you're going to hear is Haleiwa, which is right here, old historic town Haleiwa, all right? And then you got Pupukea right here, all right? Laie, Kahuku, Kavela Bay, all right? You got Turtle Bay up there as well. Turtle Bay is the well-known resort on the North Shore, all right? But this is going to shake out to be your North Shore, all right? Now, how can you get to the North Shore? You can't get to the North Shore from here. You're going to either be heading H2, and then you're going to decide if you want to go which way, this way, or if you are on the Windward side, then you're going to be taking this scenic beach route all the way up and around. Now, don't let anybody fool you. It's a small island, but this drive right here and this drive up to North Shore can take quite a bit, all right? So depending on motorcycle or if you're in a car and traffic, some people say they've gotten around the island in an hour and a half. Typically, though, you're going to be driving around 3 hours if you're going around the whole island. But this right here to North Shore, this drive can be very extensive. Now, where are we going to talk about next? Let's talk about West Side. So West Side, Kaina Point, all right, we got right here. We've already marked it up quite a bit. And then the whole West Side over here. Now, when it comes to Ewa and Kapolei, a lot of people do consider them to be on the West Side. They are on the southern shores, and Kapolei right here is in the southwest corner, all right? But a lot of people will go and say that this right here is the West Side, all right? So this is going to be West Side, right? Or Leeward side, all right? You'll start to hear Leeward once you're on the island more, all right? Leeward side. But if you want to just keep it, simple, you can say that. But Leeward, Leeward, Leeward side, okay? On the Leeward side, you got Makaha all the way up here. All right, and beautiful Kaina Point is actually a hike. All right, but then we talk about Space Force. They have a station up here as well. And then coming on down from north to south, you're going to have Waianae, Maili, Nanakuli, and then you're coming on down into Kapolei and Ewa Beach. All right, now in Kapolei specifically, you do have Alalani. All right, so that's already highlighted on the map here. But you're going to have the Ko'olina Resort and the lagoons out there in Ko'olina. All right, love taking my kids to Ko'olina because the way the lagoons are shaped is like a horseshoe, and they have rock barriers out there, so it prevents the waves from crashing in and being barrel roll kids. I remember going to Sandy's, which on the other side of the island when I was a kid, getting absolutely destroyed. All right, so it's almost like a swimming pool, but it is in the ocean. So this shakes out to be the Leeward side or the West Side. Now, when it comes to center of the island, all right, the center of the island is going to essentially encompass Waipahu, Waipio, a little bit of Waimalu, all right, Dole Plantation. This is all just going to be central Oahu, okay? So I'm just going to write in central right here. Sorry about the little doctor's handwriting. But in central Oahu, I said Waipio, all right? So Waipio is actually part of Waipahu. Mililani, all right? Mililani, one of the hottest spots, which we are going to talk about in a little bit later. Stick around for that. And then up here, it's going to have Wahiwa. And then right next to Wahiwa, right here where I wrote Central, you're going to have Schofield Barracks and Wheeler Army Airfield right there in the center. Okay, so these two, Schofield Barracks, Wheeler Army Airfield, are going to be right next to Wahiwa. Going to be about 10, 15, 20 minutes north of Mililani. So when it comes to military, if you're not military, just hang out for a second. But when it comes to military personnel who are going to Schofield or Wheeler Army Airfield, a lot tend to look at Mililani because of that proximity to base. We talk about proximity to work, all right? Now, here's going to be one of the big ones when it comes to proximity to work. So here's what we call town, all right? Town essentially is going to be this right here. All right? Now, Kahala is questionable, but this is pretty much what we call town. All right, Honolulu is the hub, okay? So the city of Honolulu, Waikiki, all that, the hub, okay? Now, the reason we have all this traffic is because you got people coming from Leeward, Central, East, which we're going to talk about in a minute. All right, all coming this way. All right, everybody's coming this way at the same time, and everybody's leaving the hub at the same time. All right, so I already mentioned this earlier, but in the morning, about 5:30 is when it starts to really thicken up. All right, and then in the afternoon, if you're heading from town out west. So if you're heading from here and you're coming west and you don't get past the airport by 3:30, you can almost guarantee that you're going to get stuck in some sort of traffic. 3:30 p.m. in the afternoon is about that time. It's like dialed in. I don't know how or why it is, but it is dialed in that 3:30 is that mark. If you're not past it by about 3:30 p.m., hey, just know that you're going to be in it. So anyway, this is the hub. All right, Honolulu, Ala Moana, Waikiki. We just call it town. All right, everybody just says town. You going to town? What's in town? All right, we're gonna head to town tonight, or we're gonna go eat dinner in town, stuff like that. We just say town. All right, so everybody refers to this as town. Okay. Now, east side. I just mentioned this briefly, but some people, again, Kahala right here is questionable to be considered part of town. Most people will consider east side, Hawaii Kai, and Kahala. So again, questionable, but more so Hawaii Kai. Hawaii Kai is absolutely beautiful, probably one of the most beautiful spots on the island. So Hawaii Kai is going to be east side. And again, you got your highway right here coming into town. Okay, so that's Hawaii Kai, and it's again going to be east side. All right. Now, as we come around the bend, you can either come around the bend or coming from town, our hub right here, you can take the Pali Highway up, which is the 61. You can take the Like up, or the Like, which is 63. So when you're driving around Hawaii and you see the sign that says Like, it's not like, all right, it's Like Highway. Okay, so that's going to be the 63 or the H3 on up. So really, from town or just outside of town, there's four ways, but 3 ways that you can get over to the windward side within about 25 minutes, give or take, depending on traffic. Everything's always dependent on traffic, okay? Now, where are we going next? All right, this whole spot over here, again, Punaluu is where I draw the line. Some of you may not, and that's okay. Leave it in the comments and let me know if you think it is or isn't. So we got Kualoa Ranch up here, all right? And now this is all going to be windward, all right? Windward. So going over this windward side. Why is it called windward? Well, trade winds come in from this side of the Pacific Ocean, all right? So this is where the trade winds come in, windward side. This big green mountain range right here, all right? You're going to have the Ko'olau Mountains. All right, all these mountains essentially block all that wind coming in. All right, so this is going to be your windward side. Typically, the 2 cities or spots that you're going to hear about the windward side are going to be Kaneohe, all right, and Kailua. All right, Kaneohe and Kailua, those 2 Ks right there. That is going to break down the windward side. All right, so there's the island. I know that's a lot, and it's a lot of scribble, but I'm going to erase this in just a second, and then we're going to get into the best places to live according to niche.com. All right, in here. So let me go ahead and erase this and we'll jump into that. So where are the best places to live according to niche.com? Where are the best places to live? Now they go through and they're always filtering data. That could be schools. It could be, it could be so many factors. Niche.com, matter of fact, collects like FBI data, census data, all this data, real estate data. All right, so great tool to use. But when it comes to their list in the areas that they commonly have up on the top places to live in Honolulu, Hawaii, it's going to usually start with these right here. So we're going to go ahead and talk about this one first. I'm going to move this around for you guys here. So let me actually zoom this over. We've already done the breakdown. So what they talk about here, one of these main areas is going to be Kailua. All right. We already talked about the windward side. So Kailua being located on the windward side. And again, when it comes to Kailua, they have it's probably now one of the second busiest areas on the island. Obviously, Waikiki being first, and which is all going to be town down here. All right, so that being first, but Kailua absolutely going to be the second most busiest place on the island. When I say busiest, I'm talking more so about tourism. All right, I'm talking about the tourists that are constantly in Kailua. All right, because in Kailua, not only do you have the Lanikai Pillbox hike, all right, you got one of the most beautiful beaches, and the sand in Kailua. I mean, the sand is amazing. It feels like powdered sugar. It's pretty cool. But Kailua, again, one of the busiest. But as far as why it's considered one of the top places to live, it's quality of life, it's schools, and these are all things that you can look up again on Niche or Great Schools. But quality of life, schools, things to do, all right. I'm sure they factor in crime and some other things, but Kailua is always considered to be at the top of that list, all right. Now, again, I talked about this already, and I've got it zoomed in a little bit more here so you can see But when it comes to, again, if you are Marine and you're stationed at Marine Corps Base Hawaii, oftentimes proximity to work becomes a thing, and you're constantly looking at either Kailua or Kaneohe. Now, roadways, like I said before, all right, you're going to be hitting these roadways right here. So if we were coming from town, all right, and I got town right here, you got the Pali, all right, the Pali Highway, which is the 61. You've got the Like, right, or the Like, I already mentioned that, right, going up, or you can take the H3 going up. And this is going to be roughly a 25 plus or minus drive, 25-minute plus or minus drive, give or take, okay? Now, what's another area that is constantly on niche.com's list is going to be down here. We already talked about this, so you guys know. All right, east side, Hawaii Kai. Boom, right there. Hawaii Kai, I already mentioned it being one of the most beautiful areas, in my opinion, on the island. But just around Hawaii Kai, this is probably like the third heaviest tourist spot. You've got Sandy Beach Park. I mentioned getting barrel rolled when I was a kid there at Sandy's trying to boogie board. Got absolutely destroyed. But there's so many things to do in Hawaii Kai. All right, there's so many things to do, and it is the only place on the island that has these canals or waterways going through. So as you see this all right here, all right, zooming this in, there's all these waterways traveling in through the Hawaii Kai community, okay? Now, there are some amazingly beautiful homes that will sit right here on the waterways. And if it's even a complex, that is a complex right there, they will have boat slips that can come with a cost, all right? And you can have a boat slip, so you can have a boat, kayaks, paddle boards, whatever it is, all right, can have at your boat slip right outside of your home, all right? There's some really nice townhomes, single family homes all throughout Hawaii Kai. Hawaii Kai also has some nice schools over there as well. Again, check greatschools.org for that. Make sure you do your own due diligence. There is a Costco over here in Hawaii Kai. There's just so many things to do. Now, what's else is cool is when you come around the bend here. So let me take you here. All right, down here you got China Walls and Spitting Caves. This is a really cool thing to see. You have to absolutely be careful. You do all hiking and all that at your own risk. Ryan didn't tell you to do this. All right, always remember that. You got China Walls over there when it comes to things to do. You got Kona Brewing right there. Kona Brewing is amazing. I love Kona Brewing. Coming around though, you've got one of the most well-known snorkeling spots in Hawaii, period. All right, in Hanauma Bay. All right, so Hanauma Bay is going to be right there, one of the top snorkeling spots. If you don't get to Hanauma Bay, like when the sun breaks the horizon, then forget it. You're not going to be able to get in. All right. Now traveling on up Kalaniana Ole Highway, you've got Coco Head. All right. Coco Head is a hike. So it says stairs here on the map, but it says Coco Crater Stairs. This is going to be over 1,000 stairs up. A lot of people do this as daily exercise that do live out here. But again, some more things to do. And then coming this way. All right. So here's the Lanai Lookout. I didn't say Lani Kai. Lani Kai is over there in Kailua. You got the Lanai Lookout. You got the blowhole right here. So all these are spots as you're coming up this scenic drive that you'll be able to park and look at. You got Sandy's Beach over here, which is always awesome. All right. And then you can just keep going up and there's just more and more. So, and then they even have a nice golf course up here too. So if you're a golfer, there is a golf course out here in Hawaii Kai. So that's Hawaii Kai and how it shakes out. Now, moving down or next up on our list, we're going to go all over to Mililani. All right, not our list, niche.com's list. My apologies. So, Mililani, center of the island. Let me give you a quick breakdown here of Mililani. So, Mililani is going to consist of this area all right here. Okay, and now how it shakes out really is H2 is essentially that divider line. So, you're going to be looking at Mililani like this, and now this side is Mauka side. Okay. Mililani, Mauka Mountains. All right, you got the Mililani, Mauka, Launani Valley right there, mountains. All right, and then you have this side is called town side. So Mililani, Mauka, and Mililani Town. All right, now the H2 is essentially, like I said, a divider. There's also a golf course here, and if you're looking at the schools because you're a family and you have kids, and that's something that's on your, I'm going to check these boxes. All right, again, due diligence with grade schools and all those other things, but you will see Mililani on that list, okay? They do have a Walmart. They do have a Safeway. When it comes to big box stores, though, Mililani doesn't have any, all right? You're not going to have your Costco. You're not going to have your Target. I'm sorry, I said they don't have any. That was false. They have a Walmart, all right? They have a Walmart, But other than that, you're not going to have Target, you're not going to have Costco, Sam's, Home Depot, none of those other big box stores, okay? So what does that mean? You got to go outside of Mililani to get to those. Costco, if you are a Costco shopper, all right, Costco is actually just south in Waipio, roughly 10 minutes, give or take, depending on which side you live on. All right, Costco is going to be just in Waipio, and there's a Starbucks and stuff down there as well. Now, again, Mililani is going to give you more of the mainland suburb type feeling, all right, than compared to the other ones, okay? And what's cool about Mililani, all right, and what I love about it, let me touch here for a second before I get into that. If you are military, and again, I mentioned Wheeler Army Airfield and Schofield Barracks earlier, those are going to be right there, and we said next to Wahiwa, and it's going to give you roughly that 10 to 15 minute drive, give or take. It may even be 20, all right, from Mililani to base, okay? Now, what I do love, though, what I was going to get into is because Mililani is centrally located on our map right here, okay? Let me go ahead and circle Mililani one more time for you, right there. Just about 25-ish minutes north, you can be at a beach. About 25 minutes south, and whether you decide to go west or east, you can be at a beach. All right, so typically you're not farther out than 25 or 30 minutes from a beach, no matter where you're at on the island anyway. But if you're going, man, that's the center of the island and I want to live like near the beach, trust me, it's all relative. Again, you're going to be roughly 25 minutes, give or take, if you're deciding Mililani might be the spot for you, whether that's North Shore, whether that's going to Kapolei and you want to go check out Ko'olina, or heading east and maybe coming on down to like Waikiki or something like that. So again, that's the proximity with Mililani, okay? Now I got two more areas to cover, and then we'll get into some of the pros and cons, which I've already been mentioning, and the cost of living. So I'm going to kind of combine these, and we'll talk about these here for a brief second. So these other two areas that are really climbing that list for niche.com is going to be Kapolei, okay, and Ewa Beach. All right, it's Ewa Beach, all right. A lot of people will call this inside area Ewa, and then as you get closer, some people will call it, Ewa Beach. Either way, though, if you're looking at these two areas, Kapolei and Ewa Beach, these two are just essentially neighbors. Now, where's that divider line? That divider line is actually going to be right here when it comes to dividing Ewa and Kapolei. Now, just on the other side of that divider line, you got the mall and stuff right here. There's a golf course in Kapolei. Pretty cool. Let me actually clear this and zoom in a little bit further so you can see what I'm talking about. I'll talk about Kapolei first, and then we'll move over to Ewa. Okay? You can see some other things that started to pop up. So Kapolei is considered, or has been coined, the second city of Oahu. Okay? Now, when we talk about city, again, it's not like Waikiki, very comparable to like South Beach, Miami. All right? High-rise buildings, beach right there, lots of things to do, all that stuff. Kapolei being the second city, it has a business center. It has most of your big box stores. It has a lot of newer development housing going on over there too. And it also has, again, we talked about Ko'olina Resort. So now that I've got it up here and zoomed in, you can see these little lagoons, okay, right here. And this is a marina, all right. And then this is going to be Ko'olina. So as you're coming out here, you're going to hit this exit, and then you're going to come around, and you're going to be traveling through Ko'olina. Now, there's a Wet and Wild out there. There's just so many things going on in Kapolei. Again, one of the fastest growing communities on the island. So as it breaks down, there's several different areas in Kapolei. Some of the housing back here in Mihana is new. You also got Coral Crater Adventure Park. But one thing to note when it comes to mountains, hiking, and beaches, all right, now I mentioned I like Ko'olina, but when it comes to beaches, I'm going to go ahead and say it, they don't necessarily have the nicest beaches, okay? Typically speaking, if you want to go do adventures, you have to leave these two areas. But when it comes to newer, more modern style housing and those types of things, and family friendly and whatnot, neighborhoods that kind of give you that warm and fuzzy feeling, all right, Kapolei and Ewa for sure. One of my absolute, here's the golf course, all right, but one of my absolute favorite areas in Kapolei, we actually have a vlog tour on this channel, is going to be Makakilo, all right? Now, Makakilo, this is the intersection right here. Once you come past this intersection, you're going to have a Walmart, and you'll see Chili's on the corner, and then you're going to hit this road, and when you're hitting Makakilo Drive, you are going uphill, all right? You're going absolutely uphill. Makakilo's elevation is going to be over 600 feet in elevation, and the homes up here. All right, so some of the homes on the west side of this are going to be a little bit dated. Some of the homes on the newer side are a little bit more newer and modern. There's a lot of townhomes up here too. If you watch that vlog tour, you'll see where I take you through a townhome. But up here, the breezes are absolutely amazing. So when it comes to me mentioning the wind, this plays a huge factor. All right, this plays a huge factor for your electric bill, especially during the summer, but more so in the fall, winter, and then beginning of the spring when it's really, really cool and you're getting a ton of breezes. All right, in your house if you live up here. Same thing with Mililani. Mililani's elevation is really high. Get those breezes. You're like, man, I don't need to run the AC today. We can save a couple bucks, right? Open the windows. It feels absolutely amazing. All right, now let me go this way so we can start getting into Ewa. There we go. So Ewa, all right, Ewa Beach 96706 is the zip code. And we talked about that divider line essentially being Kualakai Parkway right here. So Ewa and then Kapolei 96707, neighbors, right? Now, when it comes to Ewa and you get off of H1 here, or let's say you're heading west and you're getting off of H1, this is going to be Fort Weaver Road. That long red line that I just drew, Fort Weaver Road. Fort Weaver Road can be a detriment to your plans. And what I mean by that is traffic. Again, talking about traffic, and we've been talking about pros and cons as we've been going through each community. But traffic over here, Fort Weaver can, depending on the time of day that you leave, can add another 15 to 25 minutes to your drive, depending on if you live all the way back here in Ocean Point or Ewa Beach, and you've got to take this hoss all the way up to get to the H1. I know it may look small here, but trust me, that thing can feel like forever. All right. So this is going to be, again, Ewa's going to have some of your newer and more modern communities in some parts. All right. So you got, if you are coming down Fort Weaver, you're going to notice North Park is going to be roughly in this area, newer, more modern homes. Ocean Point has a lot of newer, more modern homes, if that's your thing. Okay. And the reason I bring that up is because in some of these areas, and you'll see it, and it's not just like, okay, over there, Ewa has it too, Kapolei has it too, Kaneohe, they all have it. All right, but the older homes in Hawaii, you're going to see it if you're looking at that build date, 60s, 70s, 80s. And right now, when we're in 2023, you're like, man, that's just that much older. All right, and I don't know if this house is going to fall or not. I'm not saying they do by any means, but it's some of the things that we start to think about. Okay, so I mentioned North Park over here. Now, if you've watched the video where I'm walking through Ho'opili, again, I take you through Ho'opili and I talk about the new home process because a lot of them operate on a lottery in Hawaii. All right, Ho'opili is going to be in this weird area over here. So Ho'opili is in Ewa, but the schools are going to be Kapolei, and for now, until they build their own schools. So they are going to be building their own schools in that community. So those are some of the top areas, again, according to niche.com. So we went through a lot of the pros and cons of those areas as we were talking about them or talking through them. And again, one of the biggest questions that we get on our calls is proximity to work, drive time. So like you'll initially hear it. And if you haven't already, you can go ahead and shoot us a text, give us a call, however you're comfortable, send us an email. Those are going to be either down in the description or you're going to see it pop up on the screen right here. You can reach out however you're comfortable. But when we get on our calls and we do this island breakdown for you and we start asking you, hey, where are you going to be working? And is a commute time or is proximity to work one of your big things? Is it a deal breaker for you? Because I can tell you right now that let's say that, you're in the medical field and you're a nurse or a doctor and a lot of the hospitals are over here, all right, in town. Okay. And you're like, yeah, I'm going to be working in town. I don't necessarily want to live there though. And I was really, really interested in, let's say, Kapolei. All right. So understand that your commute is going to be essentially every single day. All right. That right there. Now, again, no traffic, 30 minutes. All right. With traffic, go ahead and tack on another 20 to 30. All right. That's how bad it can get. Somebody decided to risk it all and not get gas that day, or somebody blew a tire, fender bender, whatever it is. Any of those absolutely ruins traffic for hours. Okay. 4 hours. I always recommend looking it up on your map before you leave the house. So that's why proximity to work can be such a huge thing. Again, military, we talked about military. I'm prior service, all right? So I'm a military veteran. Schofield and Wheeler Army Airfield. A lot of people first will start looking at Mililani and Kapolei, and again, that's all up to you. Some even like coming up here to Wailua. They like that old school North Shore vibe, and hey, if that's your thing, let's talk about it, all right? So when it comes to those, now Joint Base Pearl Harbor, right? Hickam, right? Hickam. So Navy Air Force, all right? Going to be right there. A lot of people will look at Aiea, Waimalu, all right, proximity to work, okay? Marine Corps Base Hawaii, all right, a lot of people already mentioned this, Kaneohe Kailua, or they may even look in town because those routes right there provide roughly that 25 to 30-minute drive, and they're okay with that. So it really is about what you're comfortable with. And again, this is what we talk about on our Zoom calls when it comes to deciding and helping you figure out the area that checks your boxes, fits your lifestyle, and we can help move forward with that process. Now, last bit I wanted to talk about was cost of living. Okay, cost of living out here. So how does this break down? First question people ask is, where am I going to get the most bang for my buck? Okay, that is a very vague phrase or question. And that is depending on how much somebody has or was willing to spend. So there's no definitive answer for this. But typically speaking, when you're saying that, you're asking, where are the houses typically cheaper? That's what we're really talking about, right? Now, according to MLS data and things that we have as real estate agents available to us, all right, typically speaking, out here on the west side is where, if we want to call it that, getting the bang for your buck, okay? So you're going to look out here and you're going to see home prices, and we've had this question a bunch of times is, why are homes a little bit cheaper out there? Well, typically speaking, and this goes for many cities, all right, and most cities around the United States, the farther you get away from the hub, the cheaper things get, typically speaking, all right? And that's essentially what's going on out here. Now, yes, Kapolei was coined the second city, okay, and they do have the more newer modern home developments out there on the island. That's why some of the fastest growing communities. But typically speaking, the farther you get away, so again, Ewa, Kapolei, and the farther we get up here, the cheaper things may seem, okay? Now, what we are seeing though with MLS data that, our average townhome condo prices in Ewa Beach and Kapolei are roughly right around the $500,000+ mark, depending. All right, there's some that have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath here in Ewa, and they might be right around the $650,000 to $750,000, depending on size and a few other factors. Okay, same thing for Kapolei, right around that $500,000+ mark for townhome condo style. Just so that you know, when we say condo is like the umbrella word, and then townhouses fits under that. So it's not necessarily apartments. We don't really say apartments in Hawaii. When it comes to these other sides, okay, so if we're looking at the median or even average single family home price in Kailua, you're gonna be looking over $1 million, all right? Ewa, roughly the same. When you're looking at sales data, Eva's not gonna be near, or it's not gonna have the sales price, all right, compared to Kailua. Okay, Kailua, one of the most beautiful, highly sought after areas. So that's what we're talking about, cost of living, okay? But generally speaking, we talked about this before. When you're talking about cost of living for Oahu or Hawaii in general, you're going to be looking at prices that are pretty comparable to, let's say, California. All right. Now, if you've looked at California, then you know, or if you're coming from California, then you know, and this won't be necessarily a thing for you. On our calls, again, that number is going to be right here on the screen if you are coming from those areas. But one of the biggest things that we have to do is manage expectations. Sticker shock is always a thing, and that's something we definitely talk about a lot. When it comes to cost of living, I already talked about this earlier. Them trade winds coming in right here, baby. Woo! Them trade winds during the fall, winter, and early spring, absolutely amazing on this side. All right, absolutely amazing. And they definitely help with your bills. Well, like I was saying, Mililani, Wahiwa, Mililani elevated above 600 feet. Makakilo, which is in Kapolei, the elevation gets a lot of wind as well. All right, so these areas right here can definitely help when it comes to that wind factor. Okay, that's definitely going to help you with electric, because Hawaii does have some of the most expensive electric in the nation. If you haven't watched the cost of living bill, I show you my electric bill that was over $500 one month in the summer. I believe it's July. So yeah, definitely going to want to consider that. But also, again, proximity to work, and really just kind of have like, okay, what are our boxes? What are our desires? And what are our deal breakers? And we can talk about those on our call.